Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Free Press Live, coming to you live from the Free Press office, the newsroom in New York City. A little sparse there today.
It's a Friday.
I'm Michael Moynihan. It is a Friday, and we have a great Friday show for you today. Olivia Reingold, you know Olivia, Free Press's own. She's going to explain how one of the go-to sources that the New York Times, NBC, Al Jazeera, and others have depended on, surprise, in the war on Gaza is actually a Hamas-linked official. Shocking, I know. Sean Patrick Cooper will call in, new contributor to the Free Press, to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement. Remember them? And according to Sean's reporting, the tens of millions of dollars the organization collected in 2020 was spent on lavish parties and luxury real estate. Not bad. Then I am going to dig into the revival of an old favorite. Since 1945, everybody is literally Hitler, including Donald Trump. It's made a pretty strong comeback in the final weeks of the election. But first, this is the best part. I'm joined today by the Free Press's very own Queen of TGIF. She's a 10. We talked about this before. She's a 10.
I established that very early on.
She is a 10. It's a Friday, and we have TGIF's own Nellie Bowles. Welcome. We're going to talk through a bunch of stuff.
You're so official. Look
I am
at you.
very official. Look, I got a job to do here. They got a prompter who's trying to tell me to do things.
Oh my God.
But we're going to start with a campaign stunt that really made people angry for some unexplained reason, and it captured all of our attention on Sunday. Here is former President Donald Trump serving fries at McDonald's in Pennsylvania.
Never even touch it, huh?
Exactly.
I was always wondering, wow, that's pretty good to go like that.
We will give them salt pancakes.
What's this sucker? They look like they were. How are you? Nice to see you. That's great. Thank you, man.
Appreciate all
Thank
the
you very
bacon.
much. Fantastic. Hello.
This is my new baby boy.
How are you? Your new baby. How are you?
Doing great.
How are you? So this is compliments of me, okay?
Did he say this is complimentary? Is that what he said at the end? Was he just giving it away?
No way.
That's
He was
not
definitely
that's
charging
not
people.
How you start a business, President Trump. All right, the New York Times took aim at Trump for his poor technique on the fryer. That's actually true.
Well,
I think it was a joking.
It was really funny. Everyone took it
post,
real.
wasn't it?
First of all, let me just say.
All right, you're just going to get in right now.
It's
Okay.
a pleasure to be here with you, Moynihan. From our Vice days, how far we've fallen. Now here we are. We were on HBO. Now we're streaming on
We
Twitter.
were on HBO.
Now we're streaming straight to Twitter.
Correct. This is. It's not even called Twitter anymore.
It's not even called Twitter. It's off-brand X. It's bad Twitter.
Anymore. No, we have, ladies and gentlemen, have
long
fallen
history.
from the mighty heights to an office in Midtown.
But I'm still stealing your vapes.
Yes.
I'm still stealing your vapes, which still bothers you, but you know what? I don't listen to that.
But we're going to do one thing about this. We're
Yeah.
going to do one more thing, so I want to get your opinion on this. Because he was serving the fries,
Yeah.
and Trump says that Kamala Harris, who claimed that she worked at McDonald's, in fact, never worked at McDonald's. We have no evidence of this. And the New York Times said this: Donald Trump has claimed without evidence that Ms. Harris has never worked at the fast food chain. Her campaign and a friend said she did. Without evidence, which I pointed out a long time ago, was something that stopped as a journalistic trope in 2020. It was like everything was without evidence. You know, people lie all the time. Donald Trump lies a lot. Politicians lie. That was a special thing reserved for him. The weird thing about this is she has also made a claim here without evidence, which is the McDonald's thing. We don't have any evidence that she's done this.
No, the Times came up with evidence, which is a friend heard it from Kamala's mom.
Yes.
That maybe she worked at McDonald's. So
In the friend,
there is all the evidence you need.
I'm not sure if the country is right, but I believe the friend lived in like Botswana at the time. It was like the evidence was a bit of a thin read, if you ask me.
But it's just so funny that at this point, like a week out of the election,
Yeah.
that the obsession is not on any policies, not on any of this or that. It's on the McDonald's moments. Each one having their little McDonald's moment.
Yeah. So when you saw the reaction to this, right? And people really kind of, and again, this is the thing I don't understand. I mean, we live in a different universe. We live a little more on Twitter than the average person. Mm-hmm. Were people losing their minds about this? In the way that I saw people losing their minds on the internet, it's like, the guy is doing a classic campaign stunt. Nothing surprising about this, but it really exercised people.
It really did. It really bothered them that Trump had this sort of McDonald's moment. It looked kind of funny. It honestly looked like an AI image of Trump serving McDonald's. It looked freaky. But everyone ended up taking it extremely seriously and doing like fact checks and like I think the McDonald's was in a place called Feasterville, and then they were doing there were stories that were like
Feasterville?
A town called Feasterville. They were doing stories that were like the health record of that McDonald's, and then they were getting
was one that said
it had health problems.
Yes, they didn't pass it.
It was like a deep dive. It was
like
America's political reporters descended on this one McDonald's to try to show that it wasn't an authentic shift at McDonald's. He had no shit. Like it was so funny.
That was my favorite one when it was like, just so people know, the McDonald's, like, this was like a setup. It's like, well, I didn't think he got a job. It was just like, just in case the election doesn't go well.
But it's like the perfect troll election. Because why is he there? He's there to troll Kamala because she said she worked at McDonald's. It's like trolling upon trolling upon trolling.
Is it unfair?
And that is the exit message. That is
Correct.
That is the message these candidates are leaving us with.
But Nellie, is it unfair in a way to put a candidate like Kamala Harris? And again, it's like what Henry Kissinger said about the Iran-Iraq war. I wish they could both lose, but they can't. This is the country we live in. But it's unfair in a way to put somebody who has very poor political chops, in my opinion, that's Kamala Harris, against somebody who has poor political instincts but is a very good troller. Because trolling in this kind of environment is a new form of politicking. This was not a case in 1960. Nixon and JFK were not trolling. But the troll is a real superpower.
The troll's a superpower, and he's the best troll politician we have.
Yes.
No, she doesn't troll. She's more dignified. I mean, she's more like serious in her comportment.
Yeah, and we're going to get in a second to the substance, if there is any.
She laughs a lot, but she doesn't tell a lot of jokes, I would say. She's not leaning into what I intuit when I look at her is I think that's someone who might be funny.
Yeah.
Like, I have a feeling that she might be funny.
She's not.
But she doesn't.
She's absolutely
but she
not
doesn't
funny.
allow herself or do that or for whatever reason.
Yeah.
She's not like leaning into being funny.
But I just think she's not. I think that she might. Nellie, I'm surprised that you were making this bold claim that she might be funny because there's no evidence that she's funny.
I think she's holding back some sense of humor.
Really?
Whereas he leans. But why should it be about who has a better sense of humor? We have the best sense of humor. We don't need our politicians to have better ones.
Boozler of this. No, I would say.
I have no idea who that person is.
That's the joke. Nobody does. We can talk about Christopher Hitchens' piece about women being funny in a second too.
Oh wow!
But that's not me. I didn't write that. But that you say that shouldn't be a thing. I think it actually kind of should be a thing for a politician to be well-rounded in the sense of having a certain sense of humor. We don't have a lot of politicians.
We want them to be charming.
Like Reagan was charming. He wasn't funny, but he was charming. He could drop a line well scripted because he was a Hollywood actor. But was he a funny person? Probably not.
I think the Democrats on a whole have had trouble with charm and humor as a concept for a while.
I think that's correct.
You see it a little bit. Did you see the men endorse Kamala we're manly men and we like.
Yeah, they're like we chop wood. It was like really it was not impressive. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone with a sense of humor would have watched that and seen that it was hilariously funny.
Yes.
They thought it was like extremely earnest and an important ad showing that men support Kamala Harris and there's some sort of disconnect happening at HQ that
and that was written by I think a Jimmy Kimmel writer.
Yeah, it could have, but it wasn't meant to be funny. It was meant to be an authentic, American men support Kamala Harris ad. But
I would say this: before we get on to Kamala specifically. This is a thing that should, number one, make you lose your job in politics. When you have an ad like that's a very good point, because when you see that, the one thing it really underscores for people is that coastal elitism is real. That the guy who wrote this commercial was literally a comedy writer for Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know where he's from, but he lives in LA. And someone saw that, made that ad, everyone looked at this and said, this is great. And you need somebody who actually understands the other parts of America.
Those coastal elites are out of control.
Real America. We're all real Americans.
Which is why me and you, such rural Americans, authentic and from the Midwest, should be Yeah.
Oh, I hate everyone who doesn't live in my zip code. Just for a record. All right.
Coastal elite, a gay
I'm
from
fine.
LA.
Yeah, you're a gay from LA.
I am the most
Yeah.
coastal of the most
Yeah.
elites
Yes.
that could ever gay.
I will say you are a lesbian elite in other Pennsylvania.
But let me tell you about real America. I'll tell you what.
We'll get to it. Pennsylvania campaign trail news. Vice President Harris joins CNN's Anderson Cooper for a absolutely dreadful town hall in the critical swing state on Wednesday
bad.
night. Take a look at this clip.
Is there something you can point to in your life, political life or in your life in the last 4 years, that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
This is me doing a job interview. My biggest challenge, my weakness is how seriously I take my work.
Yeah,
it's too much. I put
yeah,
aside everything else for
too
my
hard.
work. I work.
Yeah, that the great thing about that, Nellie, is because of a small and unforeseen technical issue, you didn't even actually hear that.
No, but
You
I
didn't
know.
have to.
I know what she was saying.
I saw you looking and knowingly nodding at that clip, despite not being able to hear it. I could, and I wish I didn't. So that's the amazing thing about this, and I want to ask you specifically, because I know you watched at least some of this, is we just have to be objective about this. And I'm telling you this as an objective observer who doesn't like either of these people. She is bad at this. It cut back on CNN to David Axelrod, who is a Democratic grandee, and he said this was actually bad. This was not good.
I think we should be fair and objective.
Yeah.
And I think that she does look beautiful and looks great doing it. She looks great.
She's
She's
looking
10,
good. Yes.
so-
Yeah, well, your scale is way off, but okay.
No, I'm kidding. No. She seems to really struggle with the really obvious questions that you would have answers for, such as what are your weaknesses? Do you have any mistakes? These are things that you would imagine someone would have prepped her on, and she would just have a great answer, move along, keep it flowing, and it seems like she's not able to do that, and I'm kind of confused why. And there's some of the questions where it's really specifics about policy stuff where I would expect her not to know all that, because it's who knows that? And Trump doesn't know that
But
stuff
you should
either.
be able to bullshit an answer. Too.
Yeah, but she can't bullshit.
And she's not. She can't.
And it's really an interesting thing, because it turns out that running for president, being able to bullshit is a huge part of that job.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it until you watch someone who really isn't able to do as much bullshitting and charming in that way.
No, it is
she
weird.
can't just answer that question, tell a little joke, and move on.
I mean, you have politicians, and I've seen them throughout my career. I've talked to many of them, who aren't particularly good at certain elements of it, right? But when you elevate somebody to the presidency, vice presidency in this case, and then just the coronation as the candidate, you expect them to have at least all the basic tools, right? I mean, it's very, very problematic for any journalist to ever make a sports analogy, and I retch at it. But I
won't understand it at all.
Well, no, I mean, you'll understand it the basic way. It's this person is a very good fielder, but they don't have an arm to throw the ball. It's you get one of the things, but no, you need both of them. Once you catch it, you got to throw it to first base. You have a few of the tools, but to be a presidential candidate, you need all of them. And the distraction for her is that what you want to do right now is convince Americans who are unsure of a lot of things like immigration and the economy that you are pushing hard on policy with solid policy solutions that convince people. Donald Trump makes things up and says, we're not going to tax tips. And my driver at the RNC was I'm now voting for him. That is amazing. And it's
No, she cannot make anything.
No, but she's behind me. I'm not going to tax tips either. It's you have no political chops. This is why you're going to lose. If she loses in however many days that we are, 10 days or something like this, They have no one but themselves to blame for not having a proper primary.
I know.
She couldn't win her own state.
Well,
she dropped out before her own state in 2020.
What they maybe should have done is like before any of these events, like before a town hall,
Yeah.
give her a little Sauv Blanc,
Yeah.
a glass,
Yeah.
just a little,
Maybe some Adderall.
just loosen up. It's remarkable. It's remarkable to see how befuddled she is by the questions that seem really obvious. And you're watching it and you're sort of like, you can do this one, you can do this one. And she's like, I can't believe someone would ask me about the border. I've never been to the border. I don't know. And you're like, you were the borders are. You can have, even if it went badly, even if it was a disaster, you can come up with, which it was, you can come up with a line or two. But like for some
line
reason,
was, I've never been to Europe either.
I think
Which is,
that
I don't even know if that's true.
I think that the Democrats have gotten themselves into thinking that like they don't need to answer questions at all, like not even just questions from an aggressive media or like Fox News reporter type people, but that they don't need to answer any questions.
Yeah.
Like she's not even giving interviews to the New York Times. She's not even sitting down with what would be really friendly places where she should be all the time. Like,
well, Anderson Cooper is pretty friendly to her, not.
No, I know exactly.
Yeah.
And she's completely baffled by it.
She's completely baffled by it.
And seems offended that these questions are even being asked.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is a job interview for the biggest job in the country, maybe the world. And like, you got to be ready to answer some of these things.
Look, before I was going to say one thing, but this is my political consultancy gig that just began today.
No, I know. I feel like we should be getting paid by the DNC right now.
These dumb morons who rake in millions of giving these people such bad advice. I will just say one thing about this is that if you're going on a date, right, do not try to be everything to that person. You have to pick a side. You have to be something somewhere. You can't, like, what Democrats have been doing for this entire election is like, I'm for fracking, but I'm against it. But I love fracking, but I very much oppose it. It's like, we don't want to offend anyone, so we're going to take this middle path. It's like, take a bloody position and people will respect you more. Explain away your changes in a way that's like, look, I've evolved on this issue. Don't try to, run away from everything.
Yeah.
Running away from things does not convince voters of anything.
She has a uniquely hard path in that because she staked out wildly left-wing positions a few years ago. So it's very hard to then be like, actually, all of those I disagree with, and now I'm just this moderate person, because it's not like it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's really recent that she was really against all the things she now is sort of saying she's for. And it's an uphill battle in that front.
She did burn down a police station in Minneapolis.
Herself. She threw the firebomb.
She was the only one there. We literally have video of this, and no one cares. Nellie Bowles, one of my favorites,